Arestovich. There are more bold targets than the Crimean Bridge. Advisor to the head of the president's office Alexei Arestovich believes that the Crimean Bridge is unlikely to attack the armed forces of Ukraine with the weapons that are now supplied by the West. This was discussed in an interview with Russian lawyer Fagin. "I'm skeptical here, because mobility artillery rocket system HIMARS will not reach," said Arestovich to the question whether the Ukrainian troops will strike the Crimean Bridge. At the same time, he specified that the range of the missiles to the mobility artillery rocket system, not the system itself, was at stake. Moreover, the armed forces of Ukraine have more ambitious goals, said Arestovich. There are fatter targets than the Crimean Bridge. For example, a congregation of troops, headquarters, airfields, he said. Arestovich assured that the Crimean Bridge is useless to shoot. In order to damage the support, you have to launch a nuclear strike, and the overflights recover very quickly in a matter of hours. This is a very complicated story, to damage such an object as the Crimean Bridge. Of course, you can only symbolically damage a piece of canvas, but believe me, we have more important goals, said the advisor to the head of the president's office. He added that it is easier to hit the troops that go over the Crimean Bridge. On the eve, General Dmitry Marchenko called the bridge by raising reserves, and said that the armed forces of Ukraine need to cut it. In addition, Marchenko assured that by September the armed forces of Ukraine will be able to proceed to a counter-offensive, if only they receive the necessary weapons. It was the first time that the Defense Ministry had reported losses in equipment during the war. Meanwhile, international assistance covers 10 to 15% of the needs of the Ukrainian army. The Defense Ministry for the first time reported losses of the armed forces in the equipment for the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. Deputy Defense Minister Vladimir Karpenko told National Defense, "To date, we have approximately 30 to 40, and sometimes up to 50%, of the equipment lost as a result of active combat. Thus, we lost about 50%. About 1,300 BMP, 400 tanks, 700 artillery systems were lost," said Karpenko. According to him, international assistance covers 10 to 15% of the needs of the Ukrainian army. "I will not name the exact amount we need. This is information for internal use. I'll just tell you, I think we need the entire military-industrial complex of the world to meet those needs. We have received a large number of weapon systems, but unfortunately, with such a massively expended resource, it covers only 10 to 15% of our needs. We need artillery. We need artillery shells, combat vehicles, tanks. We really need air defense systems and multiple launch systems, as well as precision weapon systems, because we believe that it is precisely precision weapon systems that will give us an advantage over the enemy, an advantage in this war," he said. Recall, the Defense Ministry also told about the features of the new tactics of the occupiers. "We do not see such forces," Danilov about the possibility of a second invasion from Belarus. Danilov noted that Lukashenko is under great influence of the Russian Federation. As of today, Belarus does not have enough forces and means to launch a counter-offensive against Ukraine. The president convened the Supreme Commander's headquarters, which has been in operation since February 24. One of the issues discussed at the Stavka meeting is the situation with Belarus, with the border. The president's task was to test the 4 areas for the ability to reflect a threat if necessary. And there is no fear. We clearly understand what is happening on the territory of Belarus. We understand the influence of the Russian Federation on Belarus. This is our ongoing work, which we are constantly engaged in, he said. Danilov noted that Lukashenko is under great influence of the Russian Federation. Russia has in fact already occupied Belarus politically. And to say that it is a free country is a great supposition, let's say. We are conscious of what is happening in this territory. We are aware of the means of attack that are concentrated there today. That is why there was a report from our intelligence on the subject, a report from the Commander-in-Chief, as far as he sees a threat from this side. This issue is under the constant control of our president. We understand everything that is happening on the territory of Belarus today, he added. Danilov added that if the troops are raised on a particular alarm, they can do things. We don't see that there are powers there today, there are forces there. Yes, there is learning going on, certain processes. But once again I emphasize, our intelligence closely follows all these processes. We have information about what is happening on the territory of Belarus. We do not see such threats, because there are not enough forces and means to launch such a counteroffensive, which took place on February 24, said Danilov. As reported by UNIAN, the President of Ukraine Vladimir Zelensky instructed to check the readiness to defend in 4 regions in the event of an invasion from the territory of Belarus. And today, Alexander Lukashenko threatened to strike Ukrainian cities in the event that the armed forces attack the Mozir Gomel region, where the Russians established a military base for strikes against Ukraine. New Russian casualties in the east. Ukrainian fighters destroyed ammunition depots and an enemy mortar. Today the armed forces of Ukraine have destroyed 15 people of the Russian army, 1 artillery gun, 1 mortar, 19 heavy artillery tractors, 2 warehouses with ammunition of the Russian army. Today, June 17, in the east of the country, Ukrainian defenders eliminated 15 occupants. According to the Operational Tactical Group, Vostok, Ukrainian defenders continue to deter the aggressor. Recall, the General Staff announced how many of the occupiers were destroyed in the last 24 hours. It is noted that the enemy suffered the most losses in the Bakhmut direction. In almost 4 months since the beginning of the full-scale war in the territory of Ukraine, the Russian army has lost about 33,150 of its soldiers. In the past 24 hours alone, the armed forces have eliminated at least 200 Russian invaders, as well as 7 tanks, a helicopter and 2 aircraft. Also, the Ukrainian Air Force attacked the enemy clusters in the Kherson, Kharkov and Berezovsky districts of Kherson.